I mean, I got to just say amen to all of that. And I want to get into some questions that we received that I think you're going to be helpful in answering. But just
Mm.
to get into the book a little bit, here's a quote from the book. Jesus is the most admired figure in history. He is also the most ignored, weaponized, reinterpreted, and misappropriated figure in history.
Yeah.
And then you ask the question, who do you think he is? So
Mm.
I want to just begin by asking you, why do you think that Jesus has become a figure that every group and even individual is tempted to mold into their own image?
Yeah, I think for one, there is a kind of advantage to the I hate to say it. Well, I'll just say it this way: to the carnal, to the to those who would want to take the ideas of Jesus. And also the realities of Jesus. So we got the ideas of Jesus when we think about the revolutionary thought to loving enemies, something like that.
Mhm.
The way in which Jesus is a friend to the humble and the vulnerable, the broken, forgiveness of sin, removal of guilt. These are all like, for lack of better words, perks in the Christian faith. I think people can be drawn to that on the face. Then there's also the presence of Jesus and who he is. He's the Lord and he's reigning supreme. He will have the last word on all things. It's very easy to see that as an advantage to have those ideas and also his presence, meaning you got the Lord of glory on your side, as an advantage to your own agenda. And particularly in a country like ours, where having proximity to Christian S values for most of American history has served you. It can help you get a job, help you get into office. You show yourself as a family man. I don't know how it is where you guys are located, but I'm thinking about here in Florida. They like the politicians to be men of a single of one woman men who seem to stand for the things that are oftentimes paraded as Christian values. Those things can be advantageous to your own sort of progress in career and in this world.
Mm.
We also see that in churches, that
Mhm.
churches in some ways share the title of the Church of Jesus Christ, but they are essentially, many of them, or let's say we'll just say some of them, to be gracious, to be charitable. Some of them are businesses.
Yeah.
If you were to audit them, you would not be able to discern the difference between a Fortune 500 institution and what we see happening and how we hire and who's on staff and what are we looking for? What are the KPIs? All those kinds of things. We find that there is earthly. I'm going to use the word carnal. There is carnal advantage to separating the the real presence, lordship, and lordship of Jesus Christ as it forms who you are. To separate that project from, I like the things about him because he's popping. People are
Mhm.
attracted to approximations of that of this faith. So I think that from the genesis of the church to current day, that has been a struggle for every generation. And oftentimes, those who are in power with resources and influence can really take Jesus, and as Dallas Willard would put it, they could want him for the perks of his blood, like a vampire. I want you for your blood, but I don't want you for your life. And I
Mm.
think that conundrum creates a space where people will find themselves in that scenario that you mentioned.
Yeah, I love the way that you put that. And this is something we've talked about on the broadcast before, that it's not just a proximity to Jesus or
Right.
being around the things of Christianity. I think of that text in Luke 13, which a lot of people, I mean, it strikes fear into a lot of people's hearts, where Jesus talks about the way being, or the gate being narrow,
Yeah.
right? The narrow path. And some people, they're going to come to the Lord on that day, on the day of judgment, and they're going to say, man, didn't we do all of these things? And he's
Right.
going to say, I never
Right.
knew you. And their response is, in verse 26, this is Luke 13, we ate and drank in your presence, and you
Mm,
taught in our streets. So
mm.
there's this proximity, but there's a difference between being in
So good.
proximity to Christ, right? You ate and drank in our
Yes.
presence, you were teaching in our streets, and
Yes.
actually embracing the truth of the gospel and the way of Jesus.